here from the HannibalTV.com with a daily wrestling news update. AEW has a show this Saturday night as well as NXT. Dynamite used Sabu last night, and the rating was actually up 0.32. Of course, for anyone that hasn't seen it, the Blood Hunter has wrestled Sabu twice. Both links are in the description. Once with Selena De Laurenta managing him, and once with Kevin Sullivan, who recently managed the Blood Hunter in his victory against former Impact champion James Storm. Tony Khan also did a media call today. They announced yesterday on Dynamite 2 that Collision is going to be in Chicago. Many people lead that to believe, according to Meltzer's reporting, that this means that everything with Punk has been settled, and Punk is going to be part of Dynamite. There has been Punk is going to be part of Collision, rather. There has been some really bad ticket sales. For instance, for this Hamilton show for Collision, the only parts they're opening up in this 19,000 seat arena are the highlighted parts. They've only sold somewhere over 500 tickets. So it's good for them that they have CM Punk, who at least at first will give them a bit of a boost. We do have to remember, though, that although Punk debuted in Chicago at the United Center the first time for AEW before a packed house, the last time he wrestled for AEW in Chicago was at the 7,000 seat Wintrust Arena, and it was far from sold out. It only had about 3,500. Will him coming back in the Collision debut be able to sell it out? Time will tell. But they're also coming to Toronto, Regina, and Calgary and Hamilton. Yes, Sabu was on Dynamite, did an angle with Adam Page, Jericho. Good for him. I will say one thing. I'm not an AEW hater. I'm glad Tony Khan takes care and gives paydays to people like Sabu and Jake the Snake Roberts, who just did an interview on this channel with John Paz, is working backstage and stuff. I mean, good for him for giving payoffs to some of these people that need it. And I liked the Sabu segment. I watched it. It got my attention. This is one of the reasons, like, bringing in guys like Sabu and Goldberg. I hope that they bring Goldberg in and stuff. That will get people like my attention to at least glance at the product, because these New Japan guys that I never heard of certainly don't interest me. But that's just my taste. But to get back to the media call, he did not bring up or comment on CM Punk. I don't know how nobody asked Khan about CM Punk on the media call. That's bizarre. Must have been a worked media call, like these WWE press conferences where no one asks any real questions. When asked about a potential brand split, Khan wouldn't answer. When asked about the television deal for Collision, he said that it was Warner Brothers Discovery that wanted to add another show. And what are they going to say? No, when it means more money for the company. As far as Double or Nothing going head to head with NXT Battleground, he said he likes to compete. I'll be honest, I have zero interest in seeing NXT Double or NXT's pay-per-view. Zero interest. Double or Nothing, I would watch, but I wouldn't pay to watch. Someone asked about Mercedes Moné / Sasha Banks, and he said only him and Moné know if she's going to appear at Forbidden Door, which is their co-pay-per-view in Toronto with New Japan. Khan says he doesn't consider Ring of Honor a feeder system. And he mentions that many of the promotions champions are top stars. Well, many of the promotions champions are also in AEW. I don't, even though in theory it is a separate company, I mean, what's really the difference between Ring of Honor and AEW? Now they do have a separate show that you have to pay for Honor Club to watch. But it's mainly the same people. And then he also said regarding Sabu that Sabu is not a permanent member of the roster. However, he could be used. Again, he is going to be a double or nothing. And he said that his father called him about Sabu debuting. As Shawn Michaels also did a media call about NXT, where he says the reason Braun Breaker has not been on the main roster is because there's still some really great matches left in him in NXT. He's the only good thing about NXT, but according to reports, he was supposed to debut on the main roster on the Raw after WrestleMania, but the whole thing with Rick Steiner and that transgender wrestler at WrestleCon, where he allegedly made comments that she later complained about on social media and got Rick Steiner a lot of heat, delayed his main roster debut. That's the rumor and innuendo. I would say Braun Breaker, and I hope that they change his name to some form of Steiner name, since they have used Rick Steiner as his father on TV. So it's just confusing to give him a different name. I think he has the most potential of any rookie in the WWE right now. I think he should be the one to take Roman Reigns' title by far. Raw was not up in ratings this week, and it had Cody Rhodes was a big feature on it. So, I mean, to me, Cody Rhodes, I don't think he's a bad wrestler or anything, but I mean, he's not better than Roman Reigns. And as Hulk Hogan said in an interview yesterday, Roman Reigns, although he said he could have a good feud with Roman, Hogan doesn't think that Roman Reigns is Mount Rushmore quality. And like, if you look at his sellout record compared to Hogan, it's definitely not. And if you ask people on the street who Roman Reigns is, like, my parents aren't wrestling fans. My dad and mother would not know who Roman Reigns are, for instance. They'll occasionally, they know I'm a wrestler, and maybe they'll flip through it. But they would tell you about John Cena. They tell you about The Rock. They'd tell you Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, but they would have no clue who Roman Reigns is. He hasn't broken that mainstream yet, like Hogan did in the 80s, where Hulkamania was running wild and you went in a mall and there was Hogan shirts everywhere. I remember as a kid seeing the Hulk Hogan shirts with the ripped backs before I even knew what wrestling was, and asking my parents about those shirts, because at the time people were wearing them, and I thought they were cool. The other thing I wanted to mention, Shawn Michaels also said there's no update on the status of NXT Europe. I wonder, with UFC owning the company now, if they're even going to bother with NXT Europe, since NXT UK was a financial flop. Polar Bear says Hogan was right about Roman Reigns. Yes, he was. He also said that Austin was only a star for about 7 to 10 years compared to him and Savage and Andre and Piper and Bruno Sammartino and others being on top for much longer, which is also a good point. But he also said that he would like to have one more match against Austin, possibly at WrestleMania 40, which would be interesting. Austin's ex did an interview with John Paz on this channel where she brought up that he's not the greatest father in the world, which, take that for what it is. Hogan actually seems, although his one son made a mistake, he seems to have always been by his son's side, and he does. I mean, he's always seems to have had a good relationship with his kids, although it's been bizarre at various times. Although I did hear somebody say that his son is closer with the mother now. I forget who that was, but somebody said that. As far as I saw a clip of a recent Abdullah the Butcher interview. I have to just clear something up. regarding him claiming he's a seventh degree grand master in martial arts, okay? He's been wrestling professionally since he was 17 years old. He was a janitor before that. I mean, there's no doubt he could have done some martial arts in his career, but he was making money as a wrestler from like 17 to 70. When I was wrestling him, he was in his 60s. The last time I wrestled him, he was 68. This guy was one of the most popular wrestlers ever in Japan. He didn't have time to go home and do martial arts classes. The seventh degree grandmaster. I'm sorry, that's just a load of bullshit. It's just another one of his lies that he is a seventh degree grandmaster, and the only martial arts move he ever does is this karate chop neck thrust. I don't know. Maybe I could be wrong if he's thrown a kick in a match, but if he has, it's been rare. And the Dark Side of the Ring on him, which I am in, is going to air sometime this summer. But I believe next Tuesday, season 4 of Dark Side of the Ring debuts. He uses a Ford, yes. That's for sure. By the way, somebody said Abdullah never beat Hulk Hogan in the comments of one of my matches with Abdullah recently. Abdullah the Butcher mostly had count outs and like double DQs with Hogan when they wrestled. From any of the matches I've seen, there's several of them online. He did feud with Hogan in Japan for a while. Anyways, guys, we're very, very close to 360,000 subscribers. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Ken Patera interview that was supposed to happen last night with Jack Kilby got delayed until tomorrow. So it's still happening. I have one coming up with the gobbledygooker of all people, as well as Greg the Hammer Valentine. So that's pretty cool. And don't forget the Great North Wrestling event in Smith Falls, Blood Hunter versus Nunzio. There's more to be announced. Tickets on sale now at ticketweb.ca. I suggest people go to that if you live in the Ottawa, Smith Falls, Kingston, Brockville area.
Thank you for watching the Hannibal TV. Please like this video if you enjoyed it and click the subscribe button to not miss any of our